You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Oh yeah, here we are. We're back. Who knew? As we're back with you here in the Fast Lane, we appreciate you being patient with us. College World Series, Juneteenth, all of which preempted us over the last handful of days. So we're now back with you today after a bit of an hiatus. And we only have 3 days next week because that's when I'll be going out of town, actually on vacation. Vacation said in air quotes, with my better half, who, all right, well, I don't know if we can do this since we haven't even been in the fast lane, but
time to take a detour in the fast lane.
Take a detour anyway. So today's our anniversary, 11 years.
Mazel tov.
Thank you, Trey. You gave me the congratulations, by the way, yesterday during the morning warm-up. So you were ahead of the curve of so many. We appreciate all of it. My wife, girls trip this weekend. I'm watching the kids. Sitters yesterday afternoon, this afternoon till we get off the fast lane, and then a little bit of time tomorrow so that I can go run. And then after that, it's being daddy duty through the rest of the weekend. And I have a lot of these over the summer where I have already and will continue to be spending time with my 6, soon to be 7-year-old twin boys. And truthfully, I'm it took a while to get to this point, but cherish these moments because I just think to myself, in a decade when they're teenagers, 16, 17, are they really going to want to spend this much time with dad? Because there are going to be things they clash on trying to be independent, and there are going to be times where I have to get in there and say, as Coach Prime would remind us,
oh, no.
Because they're not quite ready for it, or it may be a bad decision. And I get it. I made plenty of those growing up. So being a dad comes before being a friend. I know there are certain parents out there that might disagree with this philosophy, but I am an adamant believer. Call me old school, call me logical, at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. We can be friends when my kids show they can be functioning members of society as adults. But until then, friend comes after parent. And when they clash, if you can blend both, great. But when they clash, being the parent wins out over being the friend. And it may mean my kid is upset with me. And you know what? Suck it up, Buttercup. That's what you sign up for, being a parent. Literally in our case, because my wife and I adopted our twin boys. So I've got a lot of these. Anyway, back on the detour from the detour of the fast lane. First off, happy anniversary. Text comes in from my wife. Got to take it in, respond.
I was going to say is based off of information of now living with a female partner of mine, which I do now. She got what she wanted out of this anniversary, and you are going to have to suck it up, Buttercup.
Me or her?
You. Well, you're the one stuck it. She's having fun. You're the one that's home.
Well, and then
I'm just saying
the nerve that she might have had to then send a text of a photo from like 10 years ago of a hairstyle that she wants me to get. And by the way, you can vote on whether I should change it or not. I am hesitant to put it up at Fast Lane Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or my personal LinkedIn, because
show me.
She is going to rig the vote and have all of her girlfriends
I have her back.
Vote in her favor.
Ed,
yes.
If you let me cut it, if you let me cut it, I will not vote for you. I'll be on your team. The day you want to cut it, if you let me cut it, I'll be on your team. Otherwise, I would love to. I want to. It would just be fun.
There's a bunch of reasons
Full
why,
buzz
and I'm
cut.
not going to get into all of it here in the fast lane. But the point is, my wife has the nerve when on our anniversary, she's on a girls' trip enjoying herself. And she just came off a trip a couple of weekends ago to see Dave Matthews Band. She has another one coming up to see Dave Matthews Band and another girls' trip on the horizon. We're going together out of town next weekend. The only one I'm taking this summer is the week of July 21st because I'll be in Charlotte. And that's a business trip, I might add. ACC football kickoff, which is an entire week extravaganza. So
I'll be at
that's-
the beach.
Yes, you will be. We will be getting, stuff coordinated so we can still bring awesome coverage right here. Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube Live, and of course, the VTR and Sports app, 93.3 FM, and Ask That Smart Speaker, open VTR and Sports. But my wife has the nerve to then send a picture requesting a haircut and saying that's what she wants for her anniversary.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Here is
It
the
ties all
reality.
together.
Here's the reality. She does this a lot, and she
will not be deterred.
in her efforts to get this. But the reality is, her anniversary gift is she gets to go away for a weekend while I watch the kids and have peace and quiet, girl time, sand, and all the great beachy vibes while it's not 99 degrees outside like it's about to be all this upcoming week. She gets to enjoy all that. And look, truthfully, I love spending time with my kids. Their challenges, you have to do a little juggling in terms of, when they get out of camp or when they get dropped off and, workout times, because that's a big part of my day. Often it's just shifting work I do during those times to early in the morning and vice versa. I know you didn't get into that, but I find it amazing. My wife out of town for our anniversary, I am giving her that time. And then on the flip side, she immediately wants to go and get a new haircut or wants me to revert back to it. And she has asked for this request. Hey, welcome to being married. If you're there, you get it. If you're not, you will whenever you do. So that's the one thing for me. I'll just leave it at that. And truthfully, there actually are. I love what I do. I'm blessed to say I enjoy my job. My wife works for a great company, Brownstone Properties. They treat their employees fantastically. So she enjoys, working for them. But I'm blessed to say that sports media has been a calling of mine and a career. So I've enjoyed that particular part of it. But it is, as I have matured, relatively speaking, of course, I have learned that sometimes you need to try to find time to take for yourself. But I mean, the sales stuff never sleeps. I mean, inevitably next weekend when I get ready to go, when my wife and I go out of town, I guarantee you there will be multiple sales contracts that will come in some form or fashion. Again, not complaining about it. We love our partners. We're blessed to have it. It's just, sales operates on the business's schedule, not my personal one. And there's a trade-off to it. So even when you leave, it's really hard to disconnect. Flip side is I get to call watching sports and going to sporting events work. So that's part of it. And yes, I'm bringing my family into business, much like a convenient segue for us here in the Fast Lane. Trey, did you see this on social media last night?
Yes, and then he had his daughter. Oh, no, spoiler! He had maybe had her on his podcast I think after the game.
So what we're discussing here, and I will give my thoughts in a moment. Part one: Stephen A. Smith's daughter makes an appearance while he is speaking on SportsCenter last night.
We could be crowning a champion today. One thing we know for sure is that it's Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, because look who's in the building: Samantha Smith. Look at that. Camera ready.
Hello, say hi.
Hi guys, I'm Samantha. I'm talking here.
Yes.
I'm Steven's daughter. I'm so happy to be here. I've made so many friends. This is really
You just got here 5 minutes ago.
This is a really great experience, and I feel really grateful to be here, you guys.
We absolutely love the analysis
You guys
there
look
by
so
Samantha. Thank
good.
you. Oh, you can hype us up any
Did you
day.
just interrupt her while she was talking?
I'm so sorry. Please, should we just?
No, it's good. We're going to wrap and get it back to Bristol. We just needed to show you were camera ready and ready to go. So next time you're on vacation, let's slide the other one in.
I will.
Yes?
Yeah. Bye, Dad.
Okay.
That was Stephen A. Smith's daughter appearing on SportsCenter as he was making his cameo on SportsCenter before getting more Stephen A. Smith on the pregame show for ESPN's coverage of the NBA Finals. By the way, I love the SportsCenter anchor who said that we love the analysis. My question is, what analysis was there from her? Like, it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek? Like, what are we doing? By the way, I don't know why we have Solitaire that has suddenly popped up on our
Do you
screen.
not get that joke?
I do.
Who are we talking about?
Trey, my man. Yes, indeed. And this goes to the Stephen A. Smith points that I was going
Which,
to
if you
bring
want to
up.
see, if you want to see
First
the
of
joke,
all, for
at-
those watching, I'm going to give you a fist bump. You can see our hands collide or our fists collide at Fastlane, Ed Lane, and VTR in Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. Do it again just for folks that are there. So the solitaire joke that Trey just brought up is because in an earlier Pacers game against Oklahoma City in the finals,
I think it was game 3.
It was either 3 or 4 because it wasn't 6 last night. And it was a game
It was
in Indiana
I think it was 3.
because you can see if you look at the photo, just Google Stephen A. Smith solitaire and you'll see photo and everybody around him is wearing yellow, which are the Indiana Pacers colors. But Stephen A. Smith has become the focal point of ESPN's NBA coverage. And that guy works his butt off. He does a lot of different ventures, from his political side stuff to sports.
Don't get me started on that.
Well, I mean, look, it is what it is, whatever his opinions are. But he does it. And between that and trying to do First Take or whatever his show is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay, glad I got it right. Clearly, I watch it. Designed for me, of course. Working in the day, stop in the middle of my day to watch a TV show for 30 minutes when I could consume it somewhere else. He has a podcast. He does NBA coverage. By all accounts, Stephen A. Smith is a hard worker. Get it, $20 million a year. You can work pretty hard if you want to make that type of money. But Stephen A. Smith works hard. It's not even about bringing his daughter to work or to the finals. Plenty of people in media get to bring their spouses or their children along to these events. It's perks for the job. A lot of these people work hard.
Allie LaFleur did it for one of the games on TNT. Obviously, the kid was not on the air. I just knew through social media that her son was at it was his first NBA game.
When you're a rights holder, like ESPN and ABC happen to be for the finals, or TNT or CBS or Fox or NBC or whomever for whatever property. I guess we had to put Prime and Netflix and all those in there. You get tickets. The league is allotted a certain number of tickets to events and to venues, and they can distribute those to corporate partners, which include media rights holders in this equation. And of course, sometimes you can just get a press credential and sit with your parent, spouse, son, daughter, whatever the relative is, in the press area where they're broadcasting. So there are ways to incorporate family into the coverage. I'm not necessarily opposed by any means to that. And Stephen A. Smith works his butt off. He's been outspoken before. He didn't really have time to be married. I'm not getting into the personal side of things. But from that standpoint, God bless him. Bring your daughters to the game. Doesn't bother me at all. Where it gets to me is it's everywhere Stephen A. Smith happens to be. Not just the political stuff, which irritates Trey, but it's the fact that Stephen A. Smith is also involved in other ventures where he's on so many platforms, including so much of ESPN's NBA coverage, that why would anybody be surprised? And why are people surprised that this is one of the lowest rated NBA finals that we've seen?
Yeah, I think it's more to do with the teams than Stephen A. Smith.
I don't dispute that, and the fact that they're two smaller market teams. And no matter how hard the NBA, diehards want to believe, it's not the NFL. The NFL could have Green Bay taking on Kansas City in the Super Bowl, and it would be very, very great ratings. The NFL has had...
It's team and star dependent.
The NBA is very team and star dependent, but their media partner has not done them any favors in that regard. After the NBA Eastern Conference Finals was done, there has not been nearly the talk of how great of a matchup this is. It's going 7 games.
This is the best finals since 2016.
And it's been a great playoffs.
Yeah.
But so much the focus has been on 3 different common denominators. 2 of them involve players whose teams did not make it out of the first round of the playoffs. One, people think could be on the trade block, but a lot of indications are it's not happening. Giannis Antetokounmpo
and
likely to stay in Kevin Durant as well. But 2 teams that didn't make it out of the first round.
The Suns didn't make the playoffs.
The Suns didn't make it the playoffs, but the Lakers, LeBron always in the headlines and did not make it out of the first round. And then Giannis, Milwaukee did not make it out. And the other are the New York Knicks, who lost to the Indiana Pacers. Part of it is this network that is contractually obligated to carry the NBA Finals. First of all, the league, they got their money from the network. And the network is only doing themselves a disservice by not promoting the teams more and talking about the quality of play, which has been really good. From Indiana, the underdog, and Oklahoma City, one of the best teams in the regular season that we've seen in quite some time. But those 2 teams, deserving of the talk. But a lot of it has not been centered on that because the ESPN has made it so much about personalities. Both the stars of the league and Indiana and Oklahoma City are great teams, not great stars. And you live by that, but right now, TV viewership-wise, they're dying by it. Or relatively speaking. They're still, plenty of leagues and properties would love to have 8 to 9 million viewers.
Yeah, if the Thunder won Game 6, they would have been one of 5 teams in the history of the NBA to only lose 20 games in a season. That's historic stuff. And they also have the MVP who's averaging 30. Like this will be the first person since like I think Jordan to win the MVP, win the title, and average 30, which is insane to think about. Like Tyrese Halliburton has hit every possible big shot. I gave up on listen. I don't. So the way I've been consuming the finals is I tune in literally at like 8:30 when it tips. I have not. I mute it during halftime.
Welcome to my world, baby. Who needs pregame shows?
I will watch postgame with SVP because I like Tim Legler, and I've. If you want to talk about ESPN content only, I listen to Windhorse and the Hoop Collective, and that's about it from ESPN. I don't listen to Stephen A. Like I used to like Stephen A. and I didn't like any of his football takes, but to me, it's someone who's stretched too thin that doesn't seem well researched because now there are constant mistakes he makes.
Yeah, and
all this week they talked about LeBron's comment about ring culture, which you could agree or disagree, whatever. But like, I get it. That could be one topic for one segment, but they talked about it today after the fact we're having a Game 7.
Well, like again,
and Get Up did a segment, I think after Game 3 or Game 4, where it was like, what is Dak Prescott's like? It had to be a Monday, so whatever the Monday game was, because I jokingly asked Lake Lewis that question, and he actually, to Lake's credit, he answered it seriously. So I give Lake a lot of credit because he just, he's really good at his job. But I had to ask him like what, and that enraged me. I have stopped watching. I used to like Get Up, and I did never watch First Take, but like the LeBron Stephen A feud just like put it over, and the political stuff from Stephen A just put it over the top. And I think with the next ESPN, like the next season, they're getting inside the NBA. That at least with inside the NBA, they might not talk the best like basketball takes.
As far as like X's and O's, that type of thing.
But they're an actual entertaining product. Whereas Stephen A basically is like, I need this guy to step up. He hasn't shown up.
Well, and again,
and he also says like he like sort of like cheered the Tyrese Halliburton injury. He's like, I'm glad he's hurt because I was gonna have to question him. And it's like, I mean, the dude hit like 3 of the biggest shots in the playoffs. Like, just go look at Steve Nash, folks, and like use the concept. Like, I gave up. I like waved the white flag. I was like, I'm sorry.
So
I can't.
So to my point though, and this is where I guess I'm going with the whole Stephen A. Smith situation is he has fed into the whole bigger narrative there, which
he's
is
the face. Like,
well, but ESPN has allowed this to happen by giving him $20 million. Like, this is part of how it's gotten to this point where they're so in bed with the stars that ESPN carries. And to an extent, I get it from a bigger holistic strategy. They won big events, college football playoff, NFL. That's why, the current leadership cleaned up the mess of John Skipper, who kind of screwed things over with the NFL, didn't like it personally, so he let business get in the way of it. But you factor that in with everything else. And Pitaro, who's now the guy in charge of ESPN, has grasped that concept. And they clearly spend big money on the NFL, college football playoff, and the SEC, much more than the ACC and everything else. Let's keep it real on that front. And then the NBA, and then certain stars that are in the portfolio of broadcasters. McAfee, the independent contract they have with him, certainly with your guy, McAfee. Stephen A. Smith, Greeny, Van Pelt, and by and large, I think there's some good content in some of that, or at least viable content.
Yeah, I think the difference between Stephen A., McAfee, SVP, and Greeny is Stephen A., to me, thinks he's now at the level where he's on par with a LeBron James and a like the
they
phrase,
made him the face of basketball more than LeBron.
Yeah, the phrase he said, like, you're going to be gone and I'm still going to be here, like, baffled me when we're talking about, at worst, like the second best basketball player to ever play the game of basketball, who probably will be an owner of an NBA team in Vegas. Probably. I put that as probably because who knows? But my point being, like, all right, buddy, like that to me, like, was like, you're okay. You think you're bigger than like basketball. And I'm like, okay, let's check yourself. Cause this is literally the most famous, you could already in the conversation for the most famous athlete on planet Earth, at least the most famous American athlete is probably LeBron James.
Well, and Stephen A., again, I think you bring up a great point. Like,
and you don't even like LeBron. Like, you're not a LeBron guy.
I'm not a LeBron guy in the overarching theory of sometimes LeBron, the parent, gets in the way of LeBron, like the talent evaluator of what would have been best for his son as far as developmentally speaking. And so I can get Smith's perspective on that, but there are times where it did cross the line and it was overboard.
And that's what LeBron called him out on.
And that's my thing, is like, if you're criticizing Bronny the basketball player and LeBron the evaluator of Bronny the basketball player, to me that's fair game. And Stephen A has done that, and I'm not on him for that. But there are other parts where Stephen A has been allowed to become the caricature and the face of the NBA much more than the players and the teams, which is overshadowing what's been a great NBA playoffs from an entertaining standpoint. You never know it. It's not been covered that way. And we don't get a lot into the weeds on the NBA playoffs around here. There's a bigger like sociological part with the Stephen A. Smith. But like, you bring up great points. Like there's a great article from BarrettMedia.com. It's up at my LinkedIn account, and it's also up Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook and Twitter from a couple days ago. And there are things that could be learned about Stephen A. from us on a broader level, including we here in the media, hence that it was written at BarrettMedia.com. And one of them is like the never admitting, the fear of saying, I was wrong.
Well,
yes.
That's a playbook out of a certain person that gets commented a lot on WIQO.
Well,
Just saying.
Yeah.
If we want to get, he's getting into
Hey,
politics.
no jokes, no disputes. But again,
I had to talk about it this morning too.
We will shift that over to the Virginia's Talk Station portion of our app for those listening, or Ask Your Smart Speaker Open WIQO. But the reason why I kind of mock that is like the game 3 or 4, where Stephen A is playing solitaire, as you reminded us at Fastlane, Ed Lane, and VTR in Sports on the Facebook Live and YouTube streams a few minutes ago, Trey. But there's an easy way around that. Stephen A. Smith doesn't even have to say those words that he can't bear to admit, which are, I was wrong. Here's a better alternative.
You just need to beep the wrong part, because that's the word. He'll say I was. He'll say it like I was right, I was smart, I was on point.
But the best part of this is Stephen A could have just said, well, if the game was more entertaining, I wouldn't have had to play solitaire to keep myself from falling asleep.
He said it was during a timeout.
But that's the funny thing, is there's actually video out that it was not during a timeout.
Yes.
Don't try to cover it up, dude. Instead, use it as a self-deprecation. I get it.
But it was a good game.
Well, I get it. But like, you can say if the game was more entertaining, or if that juncture of the game was more entertaining. Like, there are ways around this. Like, think it through. I think, to your point, Trey, the guy is stretched so thin that you become a jack of all trades, doing political here, podcast there, NBA analysis, plus your TV show. You can't really master one doing it. And that's where you get stretched so thin. And then the other part is, and I don't dispute this, sometimes you don't have to have an opinion about everything. And for Stephen A. Smith wants to have an opinion about every single thing, but to have an opinion about everything, you have to be educated about everything. And it's really hard to be educated about every single thing. I know this comes as a shock, but you can go back at Fastlane, Ed Lane, and VTR in Sports, or the morning warm-up, wherever you listen to podcasts, because...
And guess what? We keep receipts.
Right there. But there are plenty of times where Trey and I, on our various shows, because you do this often when it's political, you just defer to the Virginia's Talk Station app and WIQO. There are times where we'll do that here in the Fast Lane and others. Sometimes just knowing that, like, you have some opinions, but maybe they're not as well researched in certain areas.
Or you don't want to share them to this audience. Like, you just don't want to share them.
But the other one is, it's all about you. ESPN has allowed this, so people are missing the fact that this has been a really good, I get last night turned into a blowout, but the NBA finals have been good. There have been ebbs and flows. This is one of the lower probability NBA champions if Indiana gets there. Ironic, because...
Probably the lowest. Like, seriously.
Kind of ironic. You could say this is one of the more luck-based NBA champions, and voila, Rick Carlisle, guess where he went to school?
Oh, I was going to say 2000.
UVA, which is on par with 2019 UVA men's basketball in terms of basketball luck championships.
Well, or
things
the
have gone
last
your
time
way.
Rick Carlisle won a title in 2011.
You could put that in there as well. That was Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks beating the Miami Heat.
Not just the fact they beat the Heat, they swept the Lakers, they beat the Spurs and the Thunder and that was the dynasty Spurs. Ironically, the Thunder with Kevin Durant and James Harden and Russ.
Yes.
And so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, and again, all great points, Trey. But just the bigger picture part is sometimes you don't have to know everything. I don't have a problem with Stephen A. Smith bringing his daughter or having her on set. Although, do we really need her on Countdown after being on SportsCenter? Like, once might have been enough in that regard. But Stephen A., he, to his credit, again, I think he works too hard. Like, he tries to work hard. So having family time and bringing your daughter to work and bringing your kids to work when you just aren't around as much.
That's who we'll teach the
like,
board to, your 2 7-year-olds. Then I never have to show up.
You would be delighted if that happens. But I'm not ready to take that risk yet. Someday maybe, but like, they got a long way to go. But I'm cool with that part of it. It's merely the other stuff where it's become so much about Stephen A. That's kind of the microcosm where it's taking away from what's been a really entertaining series. And that has not done anything from a network that theoretically you think should have the series promotion and is their best interest, not doing enough of that. Meanwhile, somebody whose network often gets preempted because of the NBA finals, and he's provided great coverage of lots of good local sports storylines that have come about over the last couple of weeks. Dave Walls, ABC 13 WSET, back with us when we return here in the Fast Lane VTR and Sports app. Ask that smart speaker, open VTR and Sports. And then after that, you've gotten some feedback. We'll get to that, plus the Fast Five at 5-ish, all still to come right here on the VTRN Sports app.
Get more at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Get the best selection with more Hondas, more Hyundais, all your favorite makes and models. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now. That's way more than any other dealer in the area. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume, all in one location on the Motor Mile. The Used Car Superstore is your one stop for cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. We finance your future, not your past. You're a valued customer and not just a number on the Motor Mile. Get more with straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Over 900 vehicles on the lot ready to choose from. The Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Sandstone architecture, melodic music, wonders of the world. They're staples of Egyptian and Mediterranean culture. But you didn't have to travel thousands of miles to experience it. Just drive to downtown Cairo. Enjoy food from the entire Mediterranean, blended with the best Egyptian recipes. That means fresh ingredients cooked on a charcoal grill. Downtown Cairo staples include $5 heroes, and build your own Mediterranean bowl. Experience the taste of the Egyptian and Mediterranean world in your own backyard. Downtown Cairo. Business 29 in Madison Heights and the Grays Mill Shopping Center in Forest.
At Big Boys Guns, one thing we've learned over a decade serving Central and Southwest Virginia is that you value the freedom to choose. That's why you'll find the largest selection of firearms, silencers, reloading equipment, ammunition, and AR-15 parts, all under one roof. And if it's not in stock, the BigBoysGuns.com web store shops warehouses on a live feed, so you'll know exactly when your product is here. Come see us on Route 460 in Blue Ridge and BigBoysGuns.com. That's Big Boys with a Z, Guns.com.
We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook, and our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
Join the Lynchburg Hillcats at Bank of the James Stadium this summer for any of your favorite nightly promotions. New this year, Senior Sluggers Tuesdays, where members of the Silver Sluggers Club get in free. Wednesday is Winning Wednesday, where purchasing one ticket gets you into every Wednesday game the rest of the year. As always, we'll have Thirsty Thursdays and giveaways and fireworks on the weekend, and free admission for Kids Club members on Sunday. Get your tickets today at lynchburg-hillcats.com.
Hi, I'm Matt with Fleet Feet Roanoke. I've enjoyed working with Ed Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network, but when they sold their Roanoke station, I was skeptical the partnership could still provide value. Months later, I'm thankful that Ed took the time to meet with me, discuss the right solutions, and a plan to invite his audience to Fleet Feet Roanoke. Now we're able to build a connection with that audience thanks to Ed's creativity. Stop by and see us at Fleet Feet Roanoke to learn more. We'd love to get to know you.
Email info@virginiatalkradionetwork.com to start growing your business.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies.
Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA.
Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football.
Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
Built by tradition and fueled by passion.
Breaks free at the 10, to the 5, touchdown Tech.
Where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting? Windows that are impossible to open and close and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
Since we've been advertising with the Virginia Talk Radio Network, we've grown at Executive Maintenance, and we need more help. Are you a hard worker looking to earn some extra money? Executive Maintenance would love to speak with you. We're adding honest, trustworthy people who have their own transportation and a good attitude. We'll check your references, so make sure you're ready to bring the right attitude to Executive Maintenance. If you bring that, then we'll bring you up to par with the skills needed to excel. Call us today and learn more at executivemaintenancelynchburg.com.
Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your tickets for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's VTR in Sports.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
We're making it rain knowledge today in the Fast Lane, or opinions, more likely than knowledge. But alas, we get to get some knowledge right now as we welcome in WSET sports reporter extraordinaire, Dave Walls of ABC 13, back with us once again in the Fast Lane. Dave, great to be speaking with you. We love when we can finally connect with you, as we've had a very sporadic schedule and will continue for the next couple of weeks at least. Dave, first of all, we hope you're well. Second of all, is this the point in the calendar, once we're through the spring VHSL high school state playoffs, where you're able to at least exhale for a moment?
Yeah, this is one of those few times where I can not feel super rushed to get everything in. Of course, Ed, as well as I do, the moment you start saying something like that, that's when 40 stories are going to come down the pipeline, coaching changes or this or that, something big's going to break. So you never really take your foot off the gas too much. But I will say at this moment, I'm in Virginia Beach for the Virginia Association of Broadcasters Conference, and it's nice to be looking at the ocean rather than my computer screen right now. I will say that. But so this is one of those few times that I can take a little bit of a breather, because as well as I do, there's only a couple more weeks until we're back talking high school football again.
Yeah, I mean, we're not too far away from that. And, by the way, I don't know if you've heard, I'd love it if they do Seminole District Media Days. I thought that was a really cool concept from Brad Bradley, who organized it, Heritage football coach last year. But the idea of doing that and kind of bringing people together, not that we don't cover, what's going on in the Seminole and Dogwood districts anyway when it comes to football, but just another avenue to get more exposure. And I think that was cool last year, and would be delighted if it happened again this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we mentioned that last year too, Ed, where it was so, I don't want to just say convenient for us, but, I think it was a great platform for not only the coaches, but these young athletes, to get in front of the media in a larger environment, something they would have to do in college anyway, and really helps us put the spotlight on them even more, as opposed to showing them hot, sweaty in practice, out in the middle of the field in the afternoon in August. So I thought it was a great platform. I hope they do it again this year. I know the Piedmont District down in Danville with GW did that last year, and I think that's a trend you're probably going to see continue a little bit more as the years move on here.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen that in other areas. I know the Dogwood, it never quite materialized last year for football, but for the Seminole Football Media Days, it did. I don't want to bring too much on the football side of things in, Dave, just from the stand. I mean, I'm kind of hurting our own ratings here, but we don't want summer to go away too quickly here, although we're not exactly looking forward to next year where the weather is going to be.
Is looking a little bit like those Dallas Cowboys as peaking in the 90s.
Of course, we have to bring that reference up since, like Trey and me, you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So any opportunity to bring that into the equation is worthwhile. Speaking of, by the way, peaks and valleys. A lot of teams still around last weekend when it came to state playoffs and spring sports. Only one of them captured the hardware. Appomattox baseball. How gritty of a championship victory was that for the Raiders?
Incredibly gritty, and that was a team I don't know that as much success as the Raiders had in the regular season and winning some titles along the way. I don't know that they were necessarily everybody's top favorite to take it all, but boy, they had some close finishes down the end, and then Senior Isaac records in the championship game was simply dominant. I mean, he only had, I think he got the job done in under 70 pitches or just over 70 pitches, took care of it in quick fashion. They moved the game up to 9 a.m. in the morning, and I think basically they were out of the ballpark before noon with the trophy in hand. It was amazing. Really just a complete team effort. And credit to the coaching staff. Jamie Terry took over from Joe Caruso after they won the 2022 title, and then they've now got their second title here. These seniors won a title as a freshman. They get to go out on top as well. And that program's set up for continued success in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Appomattox, really, they become a power in spring sports. I know softball, it didn't quite go the way that they had wanted, but when it comes to, one full diamond and one kind of diamond, I kind of put the kind of in there because I don't know if you call it dirt only infield a diamond, but in softball and baseball, they've established themselves as one of the premier combo programs for spring sports in the area.
Oh, they absolutely have. Janet Ross for softball has done a tremendous job as well. Year in and year out, they're going to be having some of the best arms anywhere, and they're going to be able to compete. They had one unfortunate game where a couple errors got away from them in their state tournament loss, but really that was a team that had the potential to go all the way as well. And they're going to be right back again next year because they're just so deep. When someone goes down or you need another pitcher, you need another big bat, they've got it in their roster, and that just shows to the type of quality program that they have.
Dave Walls, WSET, is the Twitter account, and he's at ABC13 as well, hanging out with us today here in the Fast Lane. Dave, Jefferson Forest softball once again edged out. Tuscarora knocks them off in the Class 4A state championship. I mean, what a great season, but there's got to be a level of pain as well when you get that far multiple years, and it's one team really that just stands in your way of being able to get over the hump.
Yeah, a really unfortunate kind of way the season ended for them. They're winning in states. They lose the Seminole District Player of the Year and their catcher, and so you've got a backup in there. And then the one thing they had done real, they had great pitching, but their bats had really been doing well. And then they just had one game where even though they crushed the ball on a couple shots, they would hit it right to players, or hard grounders would get scooped up by a great play by the defense, and you ran into a hot pitcher. Tuscarora was a middle-of-the-road team at best entering the playoffs, and the old saying, you get hot at the right time, that's what happened. Tuscarora didn't really win a ton of games this year, but they arguably threw out, even though Emilio Long had 11 strikeouts in the final game and had a great game after just giving up a couple doubles early. It was just unfortunately you ran into another pitcher who was hot and a defense that just seemed to be where they needed to be for every loose ball, ground ball, fly out. Take nothing away from Jefferson Forest. This is a team that, again, on a different day, I think they win that matchup 7-8 times out of 10 easily. But it was just the day where any little break they needed, they just couldn't get. But so some heartbreak for sure for this team who felt like they had what it takes. But it was their first back-to-back state tournaments, I think, in over 2 decades. So nothing to hang your head about in Cavalier country.
How easy is it to overlook? I mean, Appomattox is the only team in the area who won a state championship as great as spring sports were. But for Jefferson Forest, I mean, when you factor in baseball, softball, lacrosse on the boys' side of things as well, boys and girls soccer both were very good for those seasons. How great of a spring sports season is it for those in Cavalier country, even if they weren't able to hoist any hardware at the end?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look back and you'll realize how dominant the school really was in the spring season. Like you mentioned, baseball had plenty of tools. Unfortunately, Woodgrove came out hot hitting the whole way, took them out in the openers, and they ended up making the finals. and just getting edged out. Softball had another tremendous season. You look just up and down the roster. I mean, Jefferson Forest lacrosse had a great year. Soccer, maybe not the year that they expected, but still, another great year for Scott Deering and company. Just so many wins up and down in that program. For a school to have so many programs alive in the state rounds, that's a tip of the cap to everybody.
Dave, we've touched on what we've seen with Appomattox and Jefferson Forest. Overall, we know the Seminole District is as strong as they've been with so many different spring sports. How great of a spring calendar, though, was this for the Dogwood District? You've got Alta Vista girls soccer. We've got baseball at Alta Vista. William Campbell had the great run as well, despite a down regular season, kind of playing up to the level of competition. Was this one of the more cool stories in the area, what we saw, in addition to obviously the runs that Appomattox softball and baseball went on?
Yeah, no doubt about it. In fact, Alta Vista girls soccer was criminally underpraised, if I can say that, in the postseason, just because they kept winning. I mean, one of their games they had to win in regions, it was a 4 overtime game. I mean, these girls played basically the equivalent of almost 3 full games in order to get the win. And they did not have a very good regular season. They only had a couple wins in there, but again, they kept building and building. And then once they survived that 4 overtime game, man, they had confidence to keep coming out and doing it, winning a game in the state tournament as well. I mean, just impressive stuff from Alta Vista. William Campbell also, again, getting the job done with a couple teams making it through state. The Dogwood, certainly gets slept on a little bit at times. They shouldn't be, because while the numbers are certainly smaller for some of those schools, especially when you get down to Class 1, it doesn't mean the talent is any less, because they had what it took to compete, to make states, and there's a real sense of pride for what these schools accomplished.
Dave, last one for you. Am I off base in saying this? That there's some things that, and we'll pivot away from high school to some players going from high school to college and some who are in college, that they could learn something from the Lynchburg Hillcats first half of the Carolina League Championship. Let's be real. Not very many of those Hillcats players want to be in Lynchburg. It's not that they hate it, but they want to move further up the pecking order. So their eyes are on advancing beyond Lynchburg, but they kind of showed what you can accomplish, even if it's in a shorter time frame, when you're focused on being in the present, which for them was winning the first half championship in the Carolina League.
Boy, the staying in the present was extremely important for the Hellcats. I mean, the Carolina had a 6-7 game lead when you're coming down to the last week or two of the first half season. So, I mean, arguably Carolina had the number to clinch up and probably were like, we got this one in the bag. And then they started slipping. Lynchburg took the series over Salem, but yet they've basically got to win 5 out of 6 from Carolina, and they sweep all of them. I mean, again, this is Cleveland, the Guardians have been drafting players based more on their on-base percentage, their ability to get slap hits and just get on base. You look at the success that Tommy Hawk has had, that stolen base machine, who returned this year for Lynchburg, and probably not going to stay in Lynchburg much longer the way he's playing. But, they're not blasting home runs. They're not doing it with the big power hits. I can count on one hand how many home runs I've captured from the Hillcats this year. But they know how to play that perfect small ball. Get your double RBI doubles, extend a single into a double, steal some bases, and they just did not give up in that first half. So now, instead of just succumbing to second place is okay, we'll get them in the second. No, they came back and swept Carolina, got all 6, and now they're sitting pretty with a playoff spot on the line.
Yes, they are. Meanwhile, somebody who's always sitting pretty, including on ABC 13 and Dave Walls, WSET on Twitter, is Dave Walls. Dave, thank you for stopping by the Fast Lane today. Glad we could catch up and look forward to speaking again in another couple weeks.
Ed, enjoy the weekend. Trying to stay out of the heat. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, no question about that. Dave Walls with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, Fast 5 at 5-ish, plus some of your feedback that we will continue to procrastinate on. When we return, we'll get to some of it, though, on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker open VTRN Sports, plus a little bit of breaking news on a couple different local levels.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
When you're a discerning gun owner, you value knowledge and honesty. That's what you'll get at Big Boys Guns. With over a decade serving Central and Southwest Virginia, we make the complex easy. Our team experience can help with firearm transfers and 100% electronic process for silencer ownership that is done in-house. And when you know firearms, you know it's honest. That's why we offer accurate appraisals and low prices. Looking to buy, sell, or trade? We make it easy at Big Boys Guns on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
Few things are more majestic than nature as long as it's outside your house. Unfortunately, when wildlife gets inside your chimney, it leads to problems for your chimney and your house. Prevent this problem with Black Goose Chimney Service. They provide one-time solutions to ensure the wildlife stays outside your home. And if you've had wildlife inside your house, Black Goose Chimney Service can deal with the aftermath and make sure they don't return. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit them at blackgoose.net.
Experience, reputation, growth. These are what make Brownstone Properties the area's most trusted property management company. With the recent addition of 15 new communities at Smith Mountain Lake, we have expanded our HOA portfolio to over 80 communities across the region. Combine these with over 2,500 residential units, and it's easy to see why our reputation and business continue to grow. Let our experience work for you. Visit us today at brownstoneproperties.com or 3720 Old Forest Road in Lynchburg.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
I reckon you could call this some breaking news, which we will get to right now on a couple different levels in the Fast Five at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kinda ish. Let's start with number 5.
Here we go. Another lawsuit on the docket when it comes to college sports. Oh, yes. The U being sued by the W, one of them. The University of Wisconsin is suing the University of Miami, claiming Miami's football team broke the law by tampering with a Badgers football player. Wisconsin is looking to enforce such penalties on that type of behavior. First of all, call me skeptical or pretend shocked that Miami is in trouble for this type of behavior. When folks in Morgantown might go, yep, we've seen this one before. They lost a defensive lineman and a cornerback who transferred from West Virginia to Miami a couple of years ago. Here's the thing. I mean, if we're going to come after Miami, are we just come after everybody? Because this is one of those where it's like the old, I know it only happened in the SEC, but it never got in trouble. And it happened everywhere else, and they did get in trouble. But the whole, everybody's paying under the table, and now everybody's tampering. I mean, look, I'm not one who's going to sit there and be like, yes, Miami does it the right way. Really? Let's not kid ourselves. But are they the only ones who are doing this? Or is this merely Wisconsin being upset because they got called on one of these as opposed to the reality that, to me, I mean, stop me if you've heard this before. Until you make them employees and have real enforceable contracts with real enforceable collectively bargain, I know that's a whole topic for a different day. Structures, this is going to happen everywhere. And coaches are going to be tampered with. Players are going to be tampered with. Everybody's going to be looking at the best opportunity all the time because unless it's contractually enforceable, nothing is going to change. Wisconsin suing Miami, fantastic. But if that's the case, can everybody just sue everybody else for tampering? Colorado, our guy, Coach Prime.
Do you believe that? Huh?
I mean, Virginia would say,
Oh, no. Oh, no.
but Colorado would counter with,
And guess what? We keep receipts.
as far as the lawsuits, because, well, Colorado went against Virginia in the court of public opinion a couple of months ago about Virginia allegedly tampering with players. Meanwhile, speaking of other breaking news, the Winston-Salem Journal, known as journalnow.com, reporting that NASCAR and the city of Winston-Salem are close to a deal that would bring at least one national-level NASCAR race to Bowman Gray Stadium over a 5-year period. Look, I loved what I saw out of this. If by national level NASCAR race, we're talking a mixture of the Clash, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, I would love to see that. I think the action would be really exciting. But if we're talking about just locking in the Clash or the All-Star race at one venue, that's where I like the idea of floating that type of thing around to different venues over a period of time. Bowman Gray, it looked great. It was awesome aesthetically. Would love to find a way to get The Rock involved in that. Love how North Wilkesboro is part of the equation. I think there are ways you can move these type of events, particularly the Clash at the beginning of the season and the third of the way through the season NASCAR All-Star race to different venues. I don't like that idea. If you're talking about one NASCAR race a year over a 5-year period and it varies from what Bowman Gray Stadium gets, Cup races, Exhibition Cup races, Xfinity Series known as the Busch, or the Truck Series, I'm cool with that type of setup much more than something else. Meanwhile, more breaking news in number 3. According to AseaRed.com, actually according to the Liberty basketball roster, which has been finalized and released, Liberty has rounded out its roster for the upcoming season with the additions of Brady Kester and Tor Sorensen. No disrespect to those two late additions at Liberty University as far as players who are on the roster and are working out with the Flames. But Tor Sorensen, committed to Liberty and reclassified this past summer. 5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds per game is what his dad, Eric, averaged with Liberty. Tor, originally part of the 2026 class, but just reclassified this year. So a high school player coming in. Meanwhile, Brady Kester, was in North Carolina, also freshman season of college at Liberty, and was more of a managerial type role who has elevated himself to this spot. To me, again, with all due respect, you need these type of glue guy players. They're great in practice. They're good to have. It gives you an idea that Liberty feels like they're set in other positions with their lineup. But to me, the big story here is this means that Talon Peter and Javon Mothmer are not going to be back with Liberty and be granted that extra year of eligibility by the NCAA, because there was speculation that might happen. It's been backed up by what AseaRed.com has also mentioned, so it's not just us recklessly speculating. They've been on the same train at AseaRed.com that we've been here for Liberty. Let's be real. With all due respect to Tor Sorensen and Brady Kester, if you're Liberty, from a win-loss perspective, you would rather have a roster with Talon Peter and Javon Mothmer. But for Liberty, I will say, for better and maybe worse in this case, talent-wise, it speaks to Richie McKay valuing the talent of certain players that they already have, or people that are at least familiar with their system. Meanwhile, on to number 2. Apparently, it's not the only time that he was arrested or at least in trouble. Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders earlier this week was cited Tuesday for going 101 miles an hour, but there are more in his file of events involving reckless driving over the last couple of months. So to me, this goes into the lack of self-awareness. If it's one speeding ticket, even just basically racing in a car at 101 miles an hour, that's one thing. But you have multiple of these. You have the fact that his draft stock tanked because he reportedly did not do very well in interviews, and there are certain teams that he didn't even want to interview with, as though he clearly had the talent or leverage to dictate where he went. I know his dad wanted to think that was the case. Travis Hunter probably did if he wanted to. Not the case with his son. Parental view of your child versus the reality view of your child clearly clash in this particular case. But, if it's one thing for Shedeur Sanders, that's fine. But when you add all these up, that's where it becomes a much greater commitment than anything else. Meanwhile, in the Give Me a Bottle of Advil, number 1, college conference commissioners have decided to start over on determining the 2026 college football playoff format. They have self-imposed a deadline of December 1st, determining that they're not quite set on either 5 automatic qualifiers, ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Group of 5 champion, the best one there, and 11 automatic at-large berths, or a 4 + 4 + 2 + 2 + 1 model. 4 for the SEC, 4 for the Big 10, 2 for the ACC and Big 12, and 1 for the best Group of 5 team, and then a couple of at-larges there. The fact that you're having to go through back to the drawing board, to me, is as headache-inducing as anything. Wake me up when we have some more clarity on what to expect than what we've gotten so far from the powers that be, the SEC and the Big 10, as well as Notre Dame, in the landscape of college athletics. Meanwhile, we pivot off of that to a little bit of fan feedback or fan feedback, if you want to call them that right now.
Come join the chat or give us a piece of your mind. Trey Lyle VT and Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, it's time for fan feedback in the Fastlane.
So apparently there are votes that are already coming in, and we have not put this up yet at Fastlane Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for the votes.
I'm starting to do internal polling.
We are. We're doing initial internal polling.
I may or may not have pranked Ty, and now I'm pranking some people from frontstretch.com.
Oh, to get polling on my hair, which one they like more?
Oh, I told them that you got this cut. So that's what I've told them right now. So you might get a text from a Tom Bowles, a Brian Nolan, a Michael Massey, or Dalton Hopkins. They asked, "Did you really get a haircut?" I got Ty because I told him just tune on to the stream to realize I was wrong. So I'm hoping to get the other.
Nope. If you're gonna say to realize I was wrong. Meanwhile, we've had feedback on that too.
So.
We'll get to that next week in the fast lane because apparently the hair thing is taking off now as far as our audience is concerned and what's going on. I'm starting to read the text thread. I mean,
you just remember you put it out there.
I did. My wife wants it to happen. I like the long hair.
She might have realized that the way to get this done is just give you content and then trap you.
I've been entrapped, apparently, by my wife. And she's out of town. And she'll come back and it won't be cut, but all of a sudden there will be public polling that has apparently been in support of the idea of me getting a haircut. Will it be up on Fastlane Ed Lane? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, maybe my LinkedIn page over the weekend to determine what transpires? Find out there. Monday, we'll get back with your teams and topics and covering the Commonwealth. We have more going on when it comes to others, so we'll do that. In the meantime, glad to be back with you today in the Fast Lane. Have a great weekend. College World Series 1, 2, and maybe 3 over the weekend on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports. Thanks for listening to the Fast Lane on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM W227 BG Timberlake and 1320 AM WVGM Lynchburg.